Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zo. Cantu's on the other side. What an exciting episode today is, as former Houston Astro, all-time saves leader, Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer heading to Cooperstown, New York. This is going to be the title of episode 234. I mean, besides that, you got snow in Houston. It's snowing over there in Cooperstown. I think this was just one of those days that was pretty much made for something like this.
Yeah, what a crazy day, natural Mother Nature phenomenon here in Houston with all this snow. I, I don't think I've seen something like this since I lived in Dallas. And I know in College Station or something like this, but what a great sight to see. I saw a lot of kids playing in the snow, but hopefully y'all are staying uh, warm, dry. I know it's a lot of ice out there, but yeah, great day for Astros fans everywhere. Snow, like you said, Snow in Houston. Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer, and Full Steam Ahead is on live. So the three good things right there.
Yes, we got you. Besides Astro fans too, I would say fans of what teams he played for, maybe Boston Red Sox, New York Mets, Atlanta Braves, Philadelphia Phillies. There's a guy that was on his last year on the ballot of the Hall of Fame, and that's kind of like them jitters of like, am I gonna make it, or like, am I gonna get the call? All that types of stuff just plays into your mind, and it kind of could have affected him mentally, but just missed it last year by 5 votes, and that was about, I want to say 73.8, if I'm not mistaken. This year, I mean, shit, he passed it up really good, 82.5%. But before the whole announcement had came on, I was just tracking it on Ryan Thibodeau on at Not Mr. Tibbs. They were tracking all the Hall of Fame ballots and stuff like that. He had 182 publicly / anonymously votes. Wagner had 85.4 on that tracker as of that time. That was way before the announcement. 11 gained votes as well, which was a huge thing for him if he was going to go into the Hall of Fame. He had to kind of get some of those votes from returning voters or really even first-year voters. And last year's the vote count for him was 284. And like I mentioned before, he missed it by 5 votes. 82.5 this year on his last attempt. This is a big number. From 284, 325 votes he got from the BBWAA committee, made it by 28 votes. And the reaction is just priceless and emotional, just being around with his family. I mean, it's just so heartwarming for him, because I know we've had him last year as a guest, and we had told y'all, I think on Monday before yesterday, basically, we had an interview with him last year before the announcement of 2024 being that class. Just missed it, like we had mentioned before too. And getting that call last year on the ballot, I mean, just look at the video. This is coming from @Ortiz Kicks on Twitter. So if you want to go check out that video, it is on Twitter.
Latin phrase, sui generis.
This is him.
One of a kind, uniqueness. Here's a look at what made Ichiro, Ichiro. Behold the warrior. Weathering radiant, eyes focused, the mind like a mountain lake. Calm, clear, deep. And suddenly, a flash of the past. The ball is headed with
Yes.
snowfielders.
Thank you.
Like an eagle in the air, or a fish in the sea. Ichiro on first.
And that is coming from you for @Ortiz Kicks on Twitter. Jose De Jesus Ortiz, that is his name on Twitter. But you could just see it right there, Angel, full of emotion. I mean, this is a kind of like weight's been lifted off his shoulders, just been waiting for that moment. Either he's going to get in or he's not. And sure enough, this 10th year being the last time on the ballot, I think it just means more for him.
Yeah, they always say there's no crying in baseball, but at this point, when you get the nod for the Hall of Fame, truly acceptable. Well deserved. It's it sucks that he waited 10 years, since 10 years to finally get the call, but well deserved. I think this is a guy who was often overlooked just because he kind of retired earlier. I'm sure he had more left in the tank, but he retired for a good cause to spend time with his family, to be there for them. So really great guy, well deserved. I think the full steam ahead family is happy for Billy Wagner.
Definitely. And that last year too. I mean, shoot, he was a all-star that year with the Atlanta Braves. So it was a hell of a year. But like Angel had mentioned, family was very important to him. And that's why he decided to retire from that 16-year career, 9 being with the Houston Astros. And this is the ballot results from each year. We said it last year. This is this year. 2016, 10.5%. 2017, 10.2%. Doesn't look good right there. 2018, 11.1. This is where you start seeing traction on the results. 2019, 16.7%, 2020, 31.7%, 2021, 46.4%, 2022, 51%, 2023, 68.1%, 2024, 73.8%, and this year making it into the Hall of Fame on his last year on the ballot, 82.5. There were 8 closers in the Hall of Fame. Now there is 9. And this is very historical too. Lowest debut percentage eventually elected by the BWAA. Scott Rowland was the lowest, being 10.2%. He made the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago in the class of 2023 or 2024. But Billy Wagner was second with 10.5. So it's not how you start, basically. It's kind of how you finish. Of course, it's not up to Billy Wagner. He can't do nothing about it. That is really up to the BBWAA committee. But an interesting thing to know for a lot of baseball fans, I would say even Astro fans, Mets fans, Phillies, with all the teams that he has played for. The question is, which cap is he going to get inducted into? Is he going to be a Braves? Is it going to be a Phillies? Is it going to be an Astros? Well, I think he had mentioned it on the R Skinner Podcast Network of what cap he can potentially be wearing when he goes to Cooperstown on that plaque. Here we go.
And hopefully this works out, and I can see myself in Cooperstown as a Astro.
Doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be an Astro at that moment, but there's a strong possibility that he could become the 3rd Houston Astro wearing a hat in Cooperstown, New York, joining Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio.
Yeah, and if he does, they're gonna have to find some room in Dyken Park. You know how they have the ball, like the circle balls with the number. There's 2 Hall of Famers up there. If he were to retire, going to the Hall of Fame with Houston, he'll be the 3rd one, like you said. But 16-year career, spent 9 years in Houston, 4 with the Mets, 2 with the Phillies, 1 with the Braves and the Boston each. Again, at the end of the day, it's his decision, but I think Houston's looking pretty good. Spending the majority of his time there, having some great success, a great 2001 season, great 1999 season, wearing that Astros uniform.
Yeah, I think there's a strong chance that he is going to go into the Hall of Fame as a Houston Astro, all-time saves leader, having 232, if I'm not mistaken. I'm thinking of it at the top of my head. But he has the all-time saves in franchise history with Houston. So I would think spending that many years with them, he would go to Houston, but he did have some good seasons with the Mets. Like you say, he had 1 year with the Braves, 1 with the Red Sox, and some with the Phillies. So there's a strong possibility that it could be in a Houston Astros cap going in. Shit, he was doing an interview with MLB Network. He had his Houston Astro hat already. He had a Houston Astro polo on him when he was talking to the crew at MLB Network. So it'll be interesting to see. Astro World Craig is on the chat. Congratulations, Wags. Yeah, I think it's just a really good day, not just because of the snow in the city of Houston, but for Billy Wagner finally getting that call, going to Cooperstown, New York. This whole episode is really going to be about. We have no news on other Astros, no updates, anything like that, because today is the day about Billy Wagner, Billy the Kid, and all that stuff. If you haven't seen our interview with Billy Wagner, make sure you go onto our YouTube channel, and it should be on there. Billy the Kid Wagner is the title. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, episode 150. And he talks a lot about his career, how he started to become a pitcher. Of course, his story of breaking his left arm and breaking his right arm and then having to throw with his left, going from a starter to a reliever, Brett Strom was one of his pitching coaches too back then. If you did not know that, he had a whole story about his development and working with him. So make sure you go onto that video page and just go check it out. Give us a thumbs up as well. But 7-time All-Star, 99 Royal Age reliever of the year, 4th in that Cy Young voting that year as well, 2.31 ERA, second among Hall of Fame relievers. Obviously, Mariano Rivera is one of the best closers in baseball. And honestly, he is the best. There's no argument about that. 11.92 strikeout per 9 innings. First among Hall of Fame relievers, 85.9 save percentage. Third among Mariano and Trevor Hoffman, a 187 opponent batting average. First among Hall of Fame relievers, 599 hits per 9. First, 422 saves. Fourth among Hall of Fame relievers. Second among lefty closers, John Franco, which is not a Hall of Famer, but he is if I'm not mistaken, a New York Met Hall of Famer, but not the National Baseball Hall of Fame. 997 whip, second among Hall of Fame relievers, and a 187 ERA plus, second among Hall of Fame relievers. And this is a guy, I think, when batters got into that batter's box, you could just see fear kind of in that guy's eye on the mound, because he was ready to go out there and just pure dominate against each hitter. I think when we talked to him, some of the hitters that he had mentioned was Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds. Another guy that was very a tough out, I would say, is Juan Pierre, which that was kind of in our generation back in the 90s, early 2000s. And this is a guy that he punched out a lot of players. I mean, the strikeout per 9 innings showed right there, the opponent batting average right there. I mean, he was very hard to hit off of with that wind up and that release point going from right here to his ear, and then just almost having that silent arm delivery. But this has the same vibe, I would say, towards Craig Biggio trying to make it into the Hall of Fame in 2014. Biggio finished like 74.8% receive, 427 votes. That one, he just needed 2 votes to get in, and he missed it. The next year, obviously, he got in. But like I said, this is a guy that should have been in the Hall of Fame a little bit earlier than expected, but you can't complain now because now he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as you were going over the stats. Like, he's basically the top 3 reliever in Major League history, and it's taken him 10 years to get into the Hall. It's pretty crazy, but at the end of the day, like you said, he's in. Sigh of relief. He'll be remembered through baseball for a very, very many years, for a very, very long time, as his plaque will now be in Cooperstown, New York.
Yeah, I mean, very competitive player. And what we asked him too, like what you want people to remember you as a baseball player. Of course, he's a coach over there in Virginia, coaching high school baseball. Won a lot of division and championship titles with I think it's Madisonville, if I'm not mistaken. My gosh, Millersville. There it is. And I mean, coaching is a big thing after players finish their careers. We talked to Morgan Insberg about that. His calling was coaching. Same thing goes for Billy Wagner. And he kind of discusses with us like what he wants people to remember him as. And here's the video for you.
Obviously, when everybody thinks of Billy Wagner, from the pitching and coaching, besides baseball, what do you want the people to know about you? What do you want the people to remember about Billy Wagner?
Well, I think the one thing is that what you see on the field was probably not what you saw off the field. On the field, it was 100% every day. Came to work early, left late, and I took it serious. It was not just a situation. I never felt like I was super talented and took it for granted. It was something I came every day with, and I think when you see me off the field, you realize that I'm completely different. I'm a little bit more laid back, a little bit more fun loving, a little bit more energy for other people's success than I was. I think that's something you can't see unless you're around it. I mean, I think that's where, when you talk about the Hall of Fame writers and things like that, it's hard to tell who somebody is when you only see them in certain lights. And so when you talk about character and things like that, and I think character is a big thing, and it's something that is on and off the field. But I think that, we're all different in different lines and different lights, I guess. I'm not, as type A or rigid when I'm coaching a 15-year-old kid about pitching and gives up a hit. I'm not, yelling at him. I'm not a big yeller during games. And so I think people see it a little different when they see me off the field. And, you'd have to appreciate a Billy Wagner, to appreciate an Altuve, to appreciate any of these kids. I think you have to see them in a full circle. You can't see just one side of them. You have to be around them. You really have to experience a lot of these things.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. The character, the integrity of this game. It's not just all about the results, being on the field, pitching, and all that stuff. They look at you behind the scenes in the clubhouse as a leader, as how you're going to develop, how you're going to help your teammates, all that type of stuff. That comes into part of becoming a Hall of Famer, and that's was Billy Wagner pitching with Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux. I mean, with all these Hall of Famers, Craig Biggio, Jeff Bagwell, being around all these guys. I mean, Biggio and Bagwell have talked about him being one of the classiest guys, one of the best teammates they have in their careers, and it shows right there. Like he was saying, I mean, he's not going to yell at you or anything like that. He's not a yeller. He's going to go out there and compete no matter what. He's going to pick you up. And that's what usually pitchers do too. Like if the hitter is in a bases loaded jam and they can't bring the run in, well, who's going to be in the ninth in a tied situation, coming in trying to hold the game into the next inning for the next team to go? It's going to be Billy Wagner or whoever closer's out there. So that plays a huge part of the voting process. Besides the baseball part of it, behind the scenes is a big addition as well.
Yeah, I really like the way he said that, as people who cover baseball or even as fans, as they're sitting in the stands, you only see what you see on the field. And, luckily for us, we get to go in the clubhouse and see kind of like what they are in the clubhouse. Like, for example, I was walking in the Red Sox clubhouse and I saw Christian Vasquez reading a book about the mentality of baseball, right? So just stuff like that you don't get to see. Yeah, so it's really interesting getting to know like these players and who they really are. And when you see Billy Wagner coming in from the bullpen, intense, with a mean monk face, you would think, oh man, that's a guy you want to pick with. But in reality, it's he's a nice guy at the end of the day. So it's just kind of cool to be able to, get a closer look at what actually goes, how the players actually is.
I think you want to be on the opposite side if you're the hitter, be in the infield or the outfield, or even catching Billy Wagner too. I think even catching him would be hell because that's a guy that's 5'9", not too big, not too tall, throwing 100 plus. I mean, that's insane. And the funny thing about him too with Wagner, when we talked to him, I mean, stats wasn't a huge thing back then. ERA plus, FIP, whip, all that. Like he really didn't care about stats. All he cared about was throwing strikes, striking hitters out, and just getting to the next inning, getting that save at the end of the day. And a young Billy Wagner, man, shit. If you go look at them highlights, I mean, like I had mentioned before, this is one of the guys that you do not want to be in the batter's box if you're on the opposing team, because he could blow 100 just right past you like nothing.
No, yeah, the way that Billy Wagner, kind of showcased what he was on the mound. I feel like with that face, with the that mean mug, he can go tackle a bull out there and he'll be all right. Just like that's how mean looking he was.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to face him, and
that's
the thing. Like I was saying, back to the statistics part. Like back then, I don't think pitchers, hitters, and analytics wasn't huge in the 90s, early 2000s. I would even say mid to the late 2000s. That's when, mid 2000s, I would say would end. Late 2000s, that's when you kind of started seeing the analytics. Astros, obviously, how that plan with Jeff Luhnow getting Sigma Dale. And if you haven't read that book too, that one's a really, really great book to read. Man, what is it? Is it Astro? It's something Astro, but it's a very, very intrigued book to read, talking about the analytics and stuff like that. But back to this with the statistics part. When we're talking about statistics with him, he's like, man, honestly, you could read me them statistics, and it's kind of like it really doesn't faze him. It really doesn't matter to him, because competitors at the end of the day, they're going to go out there and do what they're going to do. They're going to go and throw strikes and blow pitches right past the hitters. And I think that's what you want to do as a pitcher. Obviously you want to hit your spots, command, location, velocity, all that comes into play. But now with the pitchers nowadays, like now they have the technology to see what pitches can help them in certain types of situations in the game. Shit, back then, the pitchers like Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, Randy Johnson, they really didn't have that technology to use to their advantage. You think that would have helped them? I would say if they had that type of technology back then for
Oh, I'm
their
sure.
arsenal and shit.
I'm sure. I'm sure they'll be even more elite, even more deadly up there in the mound.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to see how technology has evolved throughout these years, year by year. I mean, shit, probably 20 years from now, might doing something else with technology. But the rest of the Hall of Fame class of 2025 was announced. It was not just Billy Wagner, but Dick Allen and Dave Parker have been voted by the voting committee. And who will be joining Billy Wagner? It's going to be Ichiro Suzuki, first Japanese-born player to be inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame. How does he not get in unanimously is a huge question mark. I think there's going to be riots. There's going to be riots in the streets of Seattle and in the baseball world, I would say.
I was asking myself the same thing when I was looking at, like when I saw the final tally, it's like, how do you not give Ichiro a unanimous ballot? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. I don't know how, but it is what it is. All but one vote, 393 votes, 99.75%. Joining Derek Jeter, just missing by one vote. Mariano Rivera is the only player in the Hall of Fame to get voted in unanimously. And last but not least, CC Sabathia, first year on the ballot and inducted into the Hall of Fame. 342 votes, 86.8%. This is a guy, and I think that we had talked about in the last episode which guys would probably be in the Hall of Fame, and I think I went with this three. Did you go with Carlos Beltran, if I'm not mistaken?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
So I had those three. I didn't put Beltran. I felt like he was just going to miss it, and not by much, but he's on the right track to getting into Cooperstown. 277 votes, 70.3% for Carlos Beltran. Andrew Jones, 261 votes, 66.2%. Ninth year, I think the 9th year or 10th year is going to be next season for Andrew Jones. And to me, Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones are Hall of Famers in my opinion.
I think so too. But honestly, the one that kind of shocked me a little bit, not that he's a Hall of Famer, but that he's a first ballot is CC Sabathia. I didn't think CC Sabathia would be, a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, the stats speak for himself. He's a great pitcher, but I thought it was like maybe a few years from now. But congratulations to him too. But I do agree with you, Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltran. They have a lot of work to do. I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame as well.
Yeah, I think there was one writer, if I'm not mistaken, on MLB Network, Tom Verducci had mentioned like the penalty for him for not voting for Carlos Beltran was the sign stealing scandal. After I think 1 year, then the rest he started voting for him. This was Carlos Beltran's 4th time on the ballot. I believe next year will be his 5th time on it. So when it comes to potential Astros, when their years end, like guys like Jose Altuve, George Springer, Correa, Bregman, all those other guys, even you can even throw Justin Verlander in that mix. Do you still think some writers would have that affect how they deal with Carlos Beltran, like Tom Verducci did with future Astros when their name gets called on the ballot?
I think we had this conversation a few podcasts ago, and I was saying is if Carlos Beltran gets in the Hall of Fame, there's no reason Jose Altuve should get in. And honestly, Jose Altuve, if he were to retire today, he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying for the ballot, but he's a Hall of Famer. Mm-hmm. If he gets to 3,000 hits, and if he, just continues to add to those numbers, then we can talk about a first ballot Hall of Famer. But I think he's close. But I feel like that will be part of the conversation. I don't think George Springer and Carlos Correa honestly have done enough to be Hall of Famers, but I think that the one guy out of that core is going to be Jose Altuve, and I think he's done enough to just kind of not consider that cheating time, because if you actually pay attention closely, Jose Altuve was the one that refused to use it. Like he was the one that knew it was wrong, didn't want to be part of it, and he still produced, still won the MVP in 2017, still helped the Astros get to the World Series. So I just don't see how you can take that away.
Yeah, and obviously, yeah, Carlos Correa and George Springer and Alex Bregman yet have enough accolades, I would say, to get into the Hall of Fame. But on their first year on the ballot, do you see them like, okay, no, okay, but let's use Jose Altuve more of an example. First year on the ballot, because Sabathia first year on the ballot gets into the Hall of Fame. Ichiro Suzuki, I'm not comparing them guys to Jose Altuve, but just because like Carlos Beltran, first year on the ballot, didn't get some votes because of the sign stealing scandal. Jose Altuve, on the other hand, do you think that will be in effect when writers vote? Do you think they vote for yes or they vote for no that first year and then after that, then they'll start voting?
I think so. However, I just don't think you should devalue Jose Altuve because of that.
Mhm.
But yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think that could be a huge effect when Jose Altuve's number, well, not even number, really the name gets on that ballot for the first time. It'd be interesting to see if he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. In my opinion, I think he is, not just because I have the jersey in the back, but a kid that came from Venezuela was told no, not to go back to the tryout, proved him wrong. Look how small he is, 5'5", 5'6". One of the best postseason hitters in MLB history. He's second in home runs. He's in some categories as well with hits, RBIs, games, all that types of stuff. I mean, we don't know if he'll get to 3,000 hits. I feel really optimistic that he'll get there, but what he's done, honestly, if like you were saying, if he retired today, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Okay. Yeah, like again, if we retired today, I don't think he's the first ballot. I just want to confirm that, but he surely is a Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see when that time comes. But like we said before, this show is about Billy Wagner becoming a Hall of Famer in the class of 2025. Drop a comment where you're listening from, all that great stuff, and put your thoughts into it. What do you think? Altuve could be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Does Carlos Beltran get in? What cap does Billy Wagner wear whenever that bronze plaque gets enshrined into Cooperstown, New York? Let us know in the comments. We'll put it out there ASAP.
Yeah, but before we conclude the Hall of Fame talk, just again, want to congratulate Ichiro Suzuki, CC Sabathia, and Billy Wagner for being in the Hall of Fame, and hopefully next year, Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones make some progress for that too, just so we can celebrate them as well. But this baseball's still going on. Baseball in the off season, in the midst of this Hall of Fame, it's still going on. It's still happening, right? But Anthony Santander is finally signed. I know that's a guy that we thought, well, not we thought, but baseball world thought that could be having a big payday, big contract, having many suitors, and I know the Astros were in on him. Well, the Toronto Blue Jays finally signed a top free agent, and they signed Anthony Santander for a 5-year, $93.5 million. That's about 18 AAV a year. I know we talked about how much AAV Santander will sign for, and we both said over 20. I am genuinely surprised that's what he got, because he was trying to get more, obviously being in the 20s. And I think this kind of hurts Bregman, hurts Jack Flaherty as well, because if a guy that was going in trying to get a big payday doesn't get what he's looking for, but again, kind of settled for 5-year, 93.5 for the Blue Jays, I think that kind of hurts their value. But like, what I'm hearing from you, are you surprised about this signing, about the amount of money?
I'm not actually. What he was looking from the get-go was a 5-year deal. He got the 5-year deal right there. He was probably looking around 90 to 100. And I think that's what he was targeting really more than anything, was about 90 million. Shit, he got 93.5. Yes, the AAV isn't like what I think. Well, maybe he was hoping for that much. 18 AAV is not bad, getting close to 20. But this doesn't really shock me at all. I mean, Santander wants to get as much as he can because of that year that he had in not Toronto, in Baltimore. 40 home runs, 100 plus RBIs, career year, first time All-Star, trying to capitalize as much as he can, trying to get that bag. And I think he got the bag signing with Toronto. Toronto, on the other hand, they've been missing on big time free agents for the past couple of years now, and getting not Santander as a huge free agent. Well, it's a start maybe to convincing Vladimir Guerrero Jr., hey, we're building something here. We got some momentum, even though we just got Santander. We're not done. We're not finished making moves. That could be a potential reason Vladdy can maybe possibly look into an extension, because I know they're still open into that.
Yeah, and again, my argument too is that this hurts Bregman. I don't think he's going to get what he wants now, especially after this deal. Do you think that's the same, or you think Bregman will still get what he's looking for?
I think he doesn't get what he's looking for. The $200 million, we've talked about this before. I don't think he'll get it. The Astros offer, as I don't know if it's still on the table, which is very interesting, but that offer was probably the best offer he's going to get so far. I've read just recently before we got on that Ben Verlander had mentioned, or somebody from the Boston Globe, that the Tigers and him are off a couple of numbers on their contract details. So I think it does kind of hurt him. It hurts a guy like Alonso, like you're saying, with Jack Flaherty as well. But we're not sure. We don't know where Bregman's going to end up. Could possibly still be with Boston. Could be linked to ties with the Tigers still, even though the numbers are kind of apart from among each other. Blue Jays are maybe still in it after getting Santander. They can go get a guy like Bregman. So it had to be interesting to see about that. The last episode that we had, I did not see anything where Nate Griffin for Fox 26 Houston had talked to Joe Espada. And Joe Espada basically had mentioned, like, there, nothing's off yet. We're open arms with Alex Bregman still. So I don't know. Maybe he comes to Houston. My opinion, I just don't see it happening. But you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I think that's just manager talk, honestly. They're not. He's not going to say, "Oh yeah, we've completely moved on," but I think that's the case. At the end of the day, it's Dan Brown and Jim Crane's decision at the end of the day. But yeah, I think the Astros have moved on from Bregman. But I do agree this hurts him too. And if Detroit and Bregman are off, by a lot, I think Bregman's very adamant. He wants a better deal than what he got with the Astros, and the Tigers probably not going to be willing to pay up that. But it'll be interesting how everything unfolds, especially once Suzuki's gone, Santander's gone. Now it's going to start to heat up. The Hall of Fame's over. Are you going to be seeing a lot of a lot of free agents trying to get signed? And that's just the case. The team that keeps making moves, Dodgers, beefed up their bullpen by signing Tanner Scott for a full year, $72 million. It's a big contract for a relief pitcher, that's for sure. And then Kirby Yates. I didn't find any number of years on that deal yet, but if we do see it, we'll let you know next time.
Yeah, it was from Evan Petzold, Detroit Tigers beat writer for let me see if I have it right here on my phone. Detroit Free Press. He had mentioned the Tigers and Alex Bregman are at a standstill, not numbers apart, but they're just at a standstill in their negotiations. But I think we didn't even mention about Roki Sasaki on the last episode going to the Dodgers as well.
Oh, we did.
We did? Okay.
Yeah. I
thought we didn't for a second because, shit. Dodgers are signing everybody at this point, getting Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates. A lot of people are saying, like, it's not fun, but I agree with a lot of the people on social and seeing other things out there. It's not the Dodgers' fault that nobody else is spending. If your team has the money, has the flexibility to go after somebody, like, for instance, in my opinion, I think Seattle has the opportunity to go get Pete Alonso or Alex Bregman, but they're going to get guys like, average MLB players or just under average MLB guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not hurting the game of baseball. It's just the way, the business is right now.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers found a loophole and they're just exploiting it, to the max. But we'll see how everything unravels once the payday comes. Those years to go, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see about that. But like we mentioned before, this is going to be an early one. Like we mentioned before, Billy Wagner is a Hall of Famer entering Cooperstown, New York, with Dave Parker, Dick Allen, CeCe Sabathia, and Ichiro Suzuki. 5 guys too in the Hall of Fame class of 2025. That's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, honestly, because there's years when it's just one guy or no guys at all.
Yeah, I don't know when's the last year they had 0. I know one year, I think Fred McGriff was the only one, if I'm not mistaken, that made it to the Hall of Fame, just him himself. I could be wrong. I don't have it right in front of me. But yeah, I mean, very excited if you're a Houstonian or even just a baseball fans of them teams, the Phillies, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Braves. Seeing a guy like this get into Cooperstown, New York, the 9th closer to get into the Hall of Fame, joining elite names as well. We didn't get to mention them names: Mariano Rivera, Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith, Goose Gossage, David Eckersley, Raleigh Fingers. I mean, we could go on with, if I'm missing 2, I'm missing 3, whatever it is. But them are Hall of Fame relievers that you don't want to be on the mound. Back then, think about it, in the 70s and 80s, closers would have to get like 2 or 3 innings to close out games. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure Billy Wagner probably did at least 2 innings closing games out.
Yeah. And then the last time there was no players voted into the Hall of Fame was 2013.
I wonder how that goes. Like, okay, we're not gonna have a Hall of Fame ceremony, like, because it happens every year in the summertime. And if I'm not mistaken too, this is gonna be on a Sunday, June or July 27th.
Yeah, something like that.
Are we going on a road trip?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, you look at that. Listen to yourself. I don't know about doing a road trip. I'd rather fly out there than drive all the way to New York.
Like a 2-day trip. 2
days and a couple of hours. That's nonstop though.
Yeah.
If we do stops, I think it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
You look like a stop kind of guy. Like you might have to use the restroom or get a little back, snacks and all that type of stuff.
Absolutely, for sure.
But Asherworth Craig did mention Altuve definitely a first round deserving. That would be a fun debate whenever that time comes for Jose Altuve. And because honestly, his accolades aren't done. He's still hitting over 302 career batting average, which is really impressive. But yeah, man, it's just going to be a very, very just today in general for the city of Houston, Billy Wagner's family, even the state of Virginia, where he's from. Angel, you had the number on you. I think he's the 3rd or 4th Virginian to be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Dang, I know I brought this up
about this, so that's why I kind of like.
I think he's the 3rd, but I can confirm in a bit if we have time.
Well, you have the time because right now I'm gonna tell people where they can follow us on social media: X, Instagram, FSA Full Steam Ahead. TikTok was banned for a day, and I feel like a lot of people just didn't know what to do with their time. But now it's back up and running again. You called it too. You didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we have a lot of listeners and audience members on Twitter looking at us right now. If you can go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button on our channel. We really appreciate it. We're trying to get the audience going. This coming Saturday as well, if you do not know and you're from Houston, Texas, you live in Houston, Texas as of right now, or you're just coming from out of town, not too far from H-Town, the Astros Fan Fest will be happening. It will start at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. I know they have vouchers for $2 as an entry, but they have a bunch of different things: player autographs, playing catch on the field, bullpen, batting practice in the cage, promotion garage sale as well. So if you're in the Houston area during that weekend, make sure you get them tickets to Astros Fan Fest at Daikin Park, even though there's still a lot of Minute Maid Park signage around the stadium. And of course, if you're not on our YouTube channel and haven't subscribed to that yet, well, you can listen to us on the road as well on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Make sure you go leave us a review. Give us a 5-star rating. Let us know in the review, too, how we're doing, what we need to improve on, all that good stuff. Angel, you found anything yet? Okay, I'll say this, too, one more time. The Daikin Park.
It's okay. It's okay.
Coming down is pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of like putting the name on just what's to come for Daikin Park in 2025.
Yeah, but I'll say it next week because I think I have to go deep in the archives for it.
Come on, man. Lastly, I show Corf Cray. It'll be a snowy day in Houston when Wagner makes. I don't know about that. Makes the Hall. He's gonna get introduced in summer. I think Houston is not that city for another snow day, especially in the summertime.
You know what? It snowed this year, so maybe anything's possible.
Yes, but like Angel had mentioned before, make sure you are staying warm and bundle up. Of course, hopefully nobody's pipes have busted either, because that I think we're going to be around the late 20s or early 30s in temperature wise coming tonight in H-Town. But hopefully everybody had fun on. I don't know if they worked today or had an off day. I know a lot of kids didn't go to school, so snowball fights, all that good stuff. I've seen a lot of people at Herman Park too, kind of like going down with like cardboard boxes, like sledding, skiing, all that fun stuff. I mean, that's pretty damn cool, because I think the last time it snowed in Houston was back in 2021, 2022. And this year, I mean, shit, 3 to 5 inches of snow is insane.
Okay. I think I took the ruler out and it was about 5. I think it was 5 in some areas, 3 in some areas, but the most was 6.
Yeah, but that is the end of our show. We appreciate everybody coming on just to listen to us talk about Billy Wagner, what he's done, his accomplishments. Now he's going into the Hall of Fame. Strong possibility it could be used with Houston Astros, but we won't officially know until he mentions it. Angel, anything else before we sign off?
No, just thank you for listening. Another great show. Go watch that ceremony when that comes on, and just congratulations, Billy Wagner, once again.
Yes, if you're not headed to FanFest, we will be posting videos on our social media throughout the whole day with player interviews and just the whole scenery at Dyken Park as well, because we want to make you feel like you're over there and just get you the latest updates on some players. Coach Dana Brown, pretty sure, is going to be talking as well. So haven't followed us on social media yet? I very encourage you to do so. Same thing as our YouTube channel will be putting out videos there. But till then, everybody stay safe, stay warm. Enjoy the weekend as well. If you're going to be at Minute Maid Park, we'll be out there. It's not Minute Maid Park. Forgot about that. Dyken Park. But if y'all going to be out there, we'll be out there too. Say hi if you see us. Until then, we'll talk to y'all later.
Peace.